If I could have your attention, please go ahead and take a seat. We'd like to go ahead and get started. As you know, I like to try and begin on time and end on time. So welcome to Beaches Watch, our first meeting in the year 2020. So Happy New Year, everyone. I hope your New Year has started out to be great, quiet, not even fun. No one's won the lottery yet, I can see. No one's telling us. I'm Maria Mark, I'm the president of Beaches Watch, and I'm happy to be your host tonight, our first meeting of 2020. So we like to go ahead and recognize our elected officials and other dignitaries who attend our meetings. We are very pleased that they are participating and want to stay informed of our issues that we bring before the community. So, as usual, I will start with City of Atlantic Beach. If we have any current or former elected officials, please stand. And we have Commissioner Candace Kelly. Please hold your applause until I've announced everyone. But Commissioner Candace Kelly, thank you for being here. Jacksonville Beach, please stand. Current and past officials. We have Sandy Golding. We have Janelle Wilson, who was a former city council. We have Penny Christensen, who was a former city council. We also have George Forbes, who is a retired city manager. And anyone else from Jax Beach? Okay, Neptune Beach. We have Councilman Kerry Chen. And anyone else from the city manager? Chief Pike, of course, yes, thank you.
City manager, Stephen Wynn.
Oh, I'm sorry. Your new city manager is?
Stephen Wynn.
Stephen Wynn. Welcome, and welcome.
Welcome, and our new community development director, Christine Wright.
Okay. All right. Well, Neptune Beach represents. Anyone else from Neptune Beach? We also have Jackie Smith, who is from Congressman Rutherford's office, Director of Special Ops. We have City Councilman Matt Carlucci, City of Jacksonville. Thank you. And we have the Honorable Gary Flower, County Court. County Court, Duval County. So if we can have a round of applause for all of our elected up our agenda. It has all the information on our announcements on the front and of course the listing of all our elected officials on the back. Our meetings are videotaped as well as the agenda is posted on our website. However, I would like to go ahead and just briefly review some of the upcoming events that we have. As always, our membership drive is in full force. You can renew anytime. It is valid from January to December. We really appreciate those members because your dues help us give back to the community in ways of the Fletcher, or actually it's now the Fletcher High School Scholarship that we give to the seniors. We also have our Give Back Award that we give in December where we recognize a nonprofit for the services that they provide our beaches community. It also allows us to have community meetings such as this that we can bring to the public for free. So your membership dues really goes to support our mission. It looks like all of our beaches are going through their visioning process now. Jacksonville Beach has got several opportunities for citizen involvement. The dates and times are listed on the agenda. Neptune Beach as well. They've got their kickoff planned for Thursday, January 9, which is tomorrow, from 6 to 8. So those in Neptune Beach who want to be part of that visioning process, please plan to attend that. It's going to be at the Neptune Beach Baptist Church. I think City of Atlantic Beach had theirs this afternoon at 1. So I'm not sure how many more they have planned, but you can check their website as well. The Jacksonville Beach Police Department, their Citizens Police Academy, will be, well, the space is still available. It's starting tomorrow, the 9th, and it will run through April 2nd. So it's every Thursday night from 6:30 to 9:30. If you guys have not participated in the Citizens Police Academy, I highly encourage you to do that. I know Jax Beach and Atlantic Beach have very robust programs Jack's Beach, their Citizens Police Academy alumni is a major, major part of helping them do things that they otherwise would not have the resources to do. I know the City of Atlantic Beach is also really working to build their robust alumni as well. So take an opportunity. It will really, it's a really an eye-opening experience. So if you have the time. Save the date. Our member social is coming up. It's a month early this year. We're going to have it March 4th. It will be at the Beaches Museum, where it's been the past several years. We are always looking for volunteers to come out and help us set up, help with the food, help with the refreshments, greeting the visitors, selling raffle tickets. And speaking of raffle tickets, we also solicit from local businesses here at the beach to donate prizes, gift cards, items from their organization, and we raffle those off. So it's really becoming kind of our fundraising event of the year. So if you own a business or you know someone who you think might want to donate to our raffle, please, by all means, let us know, and we can provide you with a letter that will give them the information as well as the way that they can donate. So. But put that on your calendar, and please plan to join us. It's always a fun time, and we usually have music through either UNF or through Fletcher High School. So, the Florida legislative session is kicking off. It's early this year, so it starts January 14th and goes through March 13th. And as always, we will have a follow-up session once that session closes to bring the Beaches community up to date as to what happened, what didn't happen, and how it all will affect us. Our upcoming next month, our upcoming Beaches Watch is our Mayor's State of the Beaches address. I do need to correct the date. It says February 6th, but it is actually February 5th. It's our typical Wednesday meeting. So we will have the mayors from all 3 beaches here, and that's always a well-attended meeting, so I urge you to get here early so you can get a seat. So tonight we are happy to have an update on our sand dunes. Fletcher Marine Coastal Club students are here, along with their sponsor Kevin Brown, who is also a board member of Beaches Watch. As you know, in the past, Kevin and his Marine Coastal Club students have done a remarkable job in the sea oak plantings and the dune restoration and preservation and education. So we are very excited to have him and his team come up here and let us know what's been going on and how we as a community can help support what they're doing, because it's about us and it's about building that resiliency and that safety that the sand dunes provide us. So Kevin, if you want to come up.
Sure. So a little, we started this in 2010. So it's been a 10-year program now. And real proud, you're going to see slideshow now. I want to introduce my presenters to you. So Viola Barkey, stand up, Viola, wait, yeah. Viola, Gabby Kraft, and Colby Smith. Okay. Not only does this get them involved in the community, but there's always opportunity. You'll see at the end where we've gotten recognition, and these young adults get to speak in public and give back to the community like they do. So it's a fun, as an educator, it's fun watching this mature. You're good. So, Fletcher Marine Coastal Club we started way back 2010, and we're going to go through some history, we're going to go through the science, and we're going to go through current projects, and I'm going to show you some before and after of some of our projects, so that you can see it isn't this difficult. All we got to do is put some effort into it. So with that, I'm going to bring up Gabby.
to the bulkhead and would even go under the bulkhead. And because there wasn't much beach, there wasn't much of a habitat for marine life. And because the bulkhead was kind of breaking down, which meant we were losing commercial and residential property, and it was also a rat haven. So this is what our beach looked like during the 60s and the 70s. Everyone loved it, and you could drive on the beach, which was great, but at the same time caused a problem because it would cause compaction and would not allow the sand to move or allow for accretion. That's what the sand moving is called. And because people would drive on the beach, it would pack down the sand and the sand wouldn't be able to move. And this is what the dunes looked like in 2010. So the program started in 1980, and so this is about 30 years of building the dunes up. And vegetation is very thick and dense and is practically at its carrying capacity or limit. And the peak of the dune is about 30 feet tall.
At one time, we took this picture. This was prior to when we started. So this is what those dunes look like. And this took 30 years to build. And you can see the density. And this is what we got before the hurricanes. All right, so they were, along with Kevin Bodge and some of the surveys we did, the max height in some of these places were 30 feet. And that's where we want to get to. We want to get our dunes back to 30 feet. We want to get them 40 foot at the base. So this is our goal. If Mother Nature will just leave us alone for a little while. Okay.
So this is what our dunes look like after Matthew. And as you can see, part of the dune held up, and that is the crest and the back dune, which Viola will talk about later. But the main part that helped the dune hold up is the vegetation. But we also lost 80% of the dune. And as you can see in the picture on the right, you can see a line of poles, and that's I honestly had no idea those poles existed until I saw this picture, because this marks where the dune program started in 1980, and they had been completely covered in Matthew. And now this is what our beach looked like after Irma. And as you can see, we no longer had those 30-foot tall dunes, and our elevation was very different and more flat, which made us a lot more susceptible to storm surge. And now this is what our dunes look like and our beach looked like after Dorian. And as you can see, the elevation is very flat and similar to how it looked like after Hurricane Irma. And one of the tragedies that happened was we lost about 9 turtlenecks because of the storm surge. And then this is the Duval County Shore Protection Project, and it allowed beach restoration to be reestablished and allowed for a more stable sandy beach for storm protection benefits, environmental enhancement for our marine life, and increased recreational opportunities for anyone who would visit our beaches.
All right, so the main purpose of our dune system is to resist erosion and absorb wave action in the case of a hurricane and storm surge.
Excuse me,
So,
could you talk just a little louder? Thank you, thank you. Great, perfect.
So this is some evidence of one of our trademark residents of the beaches, the loggerhead sea turtle, and you can see their tracks right there. And we are very fortunate to live in an area that has a habitat that supports these sea turtles. During turtle season, you might be able to walk out on the beach in the morning and see tracks and possibly even some hatching turtles. So in this picture, you can see how our dunes further support marine life. This is sea turtle patrol. There was a sea turtle that went over the crest of the dune and actually laid her eggs right by that guy in the black shirt. And our sea turtle patrol helped her get back over the crest and get her on her way. So by managing our beaches and our dunes, we're developing a social culture that makes people enjoy the beach and want to go there. It also protects our economic development. All around the coastline here is taxable commercial property. And there's also hotels and restaurants that we need to protect for tourism. And then also our residential areas. You guys live at the beach and you know how scary it is to be on the barrier island when a hurricane hits, and when the next one does come around, you don't want seawater in your home. So we really got to enhance our dune system and make sure that we maintain it, otherwise we could have devastating effects. This map right here is pretty recent from FEMA in 2019. This shows what would happen if we had no dune and we had 30 feet of storm surge. And that blue stuff right over there on A1A is the water that would come in if this were to happen. So here's the science. This is the anatomy of our dune. The front part here is the foredune. That is the part that takes the blunt force of weathering, which is the currents and the winds and the waves. And then the top part over there is the crest. That is the highest point of the dune. It accumulates the most sand, and the higher the crest is, the more protected we are from storm surge. So this is our back of the dune. There's back dune over there, and then the low part right over there is the trough. It still does capture and collect sand, but what's significant about this area is that it has a lot of dense vegetation, and this is really what helps anchor that sand down so it doesn't wash away. And as Gabby showed you earlier in the picture from Hurricane Matthew, this is the region that really held up, and it was due to that dense vegetation that held it in place.
Is it working? Everything good? So as Coach Brown said in the very beginning, this whole project started in 2010. And he took a couple students and would take these quadrants, which is a cubic meter, and through experimentation he found that the best amount of COs for that quadrant is 20 to 25, since COs love density. They love to be dense together so they can collect all that cold water. So this is what's called a sparse area. It's just basically a area of the dune that lacks the amount of density that other places do. The next couple pictures you'll see, and so what Coach Brown and his former students would do is they would take this quadrant and go to these sparse areas and place them down, place the COs down, and just essentially plug in the gaps, plug in the holes. So this is a data chart that I did not know of because I was not born yet.
So what I wanted y'all to see is there's always science involved. So he was talking about these sparse areas. So what we would do is survey the beach. So that was teaching the kids survey. And then we would put the quadrants down. And this is just a prime example because you can't raise money or funding without data. Okay? So what we would do is, I want you to know that for the first 5 or 6 years, we would survey, and we had a code here where we determined site. For example, these are sites, and we determined how many COs were needed, and when we identified low density, high density. I just wanted y'all to see that the students would accumulate this data, and we've got like 7 years of this data. Now, he's going to take it to the next level. This was prior to Irma and Matthew. Okay, this was prior. So that's what the project consisted of prior to that.
So this is most recent picture of our Fletcher Marine Coastal Club. And so what we would do is, instead of taking those quadrants, we would take a liner rope that is marked by every foot, and we would, if you see the metal tees that are really rusty, what we would do is we would make a hole at every foot for each CO, and we would make lines going on blocks. So how this would work is we would take the auger, which is the metal tee, you would go down about 6 inches, rotate the circle and build a hole, and then what we sometimes do is that white bag that you see me holding, that's a slow releasing nitrate. So what that does is you would just sprinkle it in on top of the CO after you plug it in, and what it would do is it would form a gel around that little pod of the roots, and it would keep it moisturized and it would make it grow more efficiently. So this is a project that me and one of my fellow classmates, Rhiannon O'Donnell, did for our Paper 3 ACE project. And go ahead, Brown. And so this is a previous student's ACE project, and this was Rowan Wolf. And if you can see in this year's time, you can see how much the COs have grown in just a year. And if you can see, if you look where that dune is, if you compare it to the fence line in both pictures and the boardwalk, you can see how much that dune has elevated, probably about 4 feet. And if that's just in a year time around Hawkins Street, imagine what if we did around every other boardwalk around Jackson Beach, or Jackson, Neptune, and Atlantic Beach. Coach Brown's team we've planted all the way from Ponte Vedra to Florida Boulevard and in the backwoods of Atlantic Beach. So what we would do also is we would take the 5th graders from San Pablo Elementary, and we'll get from Atlantic Beach and Neptune Beach Elementary, is we would take the 5th graders and we would, next slide please, we would have them come out, and me and the team would make the holes, and all they would do is plug in the COs, and Coach Brown would give them a lesson so that they're more immersed in our community, and so when they grow up to be in high school, they will now understand the importance and hopefully help out. So during the off season of planting COs, what we would do is we call this the Great Rake. So we would take rakes and sweep up all the debris from the water line to the fore-dune, and we would build it up into a pile going along, and we would just leave it there. So what it would do is it would create a new primary dune, as you can see on the bottom 2 pictures. It would create a new primary dune that we would plant COs behind it, and what Coach Brown is experimenting now is will that debris create nutrients into the sand and further help these COs grow. So this is in Atlantic Beach, and this picture is in Neptune Beach. So as he's working from Atlantic to Neptune and eventually to Jackson Beach.
One of the things I want to stress is this was on a whim. This was one of those, if anybody remembers your science teacher, this is when I'm sitting at home and I go, Okay, so I go out and we rake this up now. All this you see here was that debris. So all that debris is under that sand, and if you go to Neptune, you can see this line of CO right there at the toe of the dune, all the way to we went from Hopkins all the way down to Atlantic. So we created a primary dune. Now, what we want is we want everybody to come out on their ocean front. When you get debris, it doesn't have to be in the wintertime, and we want you to rake it. And this is something that didn't cost a penny. Okay? And we can get, now we started in Atlantic Beach, we're not finished yet, but that's amazing to me in 1 year's time. Okay? And the key to this picture before I move on is all that debris is underneath this sand. So the debris helps to collect the sand. And we planted right by, all we did was a rope. That's all we did, man. We took our rope, we started at Hopkins, and we went all the way to Atlantic Boulevard, just plugging in COs. Now, some are not there, but we've got this really nice line at the fore-dune. A couple of things I want to talk about is, one, Carly, stand up. Stand up. This is Carly Michael. Carly had a run where she raised 5,000? 1,800. Okay, we planted, my bad. Yeah. Okay, she raised $1,800, and we planted about 3,000 COs in Atlantic Beach. That was her project for her Girl Scout, what's it called? Gold Award. So let's give Carly. That I'm real proud of is Katie Carnes. She's graduated, she's off at school. But y'all, she did that sign. And anybody that was in Neptune Beach at the time, she was pounding them on this. This was her, we have an environmental management project class that the students have to do an environmental management project for the year. This was Katie's project. Now, the cool part is she has a legacy now. I mean, when I see that sign, I always say, that's Katie Card's sign. Okay, but these are all up and down the beach. Now, I realize city management has a lot on their plate, but here you've got the mouth of a babe saying, we got to do this. So, Carly's, the class project, this, I just think that's phenomenal when the young people are giving back like that. So these are two things. We did the signs. Now the cities did signs, but we made those, and we always stick them in wherever we got a chance. Okay? Some of the recognition, which we're not looking for recognition. This is, it is humbling to do this. We've been on StoryCorps. I know if you listen to NPR, they interviews, and we are now documented in the Congressional Library in Washington, D.C. I went up there last summer, and I said, yeah, right. So I go in there, and I looked it up, and there it was. It was recorded. So that's Brad Ashmore. He's going to Vanderbilt now. But we did a whole interview on our sand dune project. Mr. Gulliford presented us with a proclamation in Jacksonville, which is all unnecessary, but it's so cool to take young students down there and let them see how this stuff works. Beaches Watch, we were the Give Back one year, and we were, y'all, TIA Bank does a community champion. Now this was very humbling, but very unnecessary. Somebody put me up for it. So I'm at the Jaguar Stadium. I don't know if anybody was there, but there were 68,000 people. And I was a nervous wreck. But they identified the beach necks and the sand dune project. It was a fun day, but here's the cool thing. Over the next 2 weeks, I received $3,500 from, I was getting checks from Daytona, Savannah, Cairo, Georgia, people that had come to the game. Josh Lambo, the kicker, gave us $500. I mean, it was just coming in, and I was like, that was worth it. I don't like all that attention, and it was humbling, but that was worth it to get that out there. So, very proud of what these young adults do. They get an opportunity to speak in front of people. Currently, we are up to 1,500 COs this year for a total over a 10-year period of 75,000 COs. Okay? And y'all, that was on a whim. I teach marine science. I teach environmental management. I was sitting around going, how can I take the kids to the beach and get this done in a class period? And then all of a sudden it grew and grew and grew. So we turn those up. First of all, we are humbled and grateful. Can we give them a round? It is very rewarding as an educator and a member of this community when these young people give back, especially that great rake. Man, I had 50 people out there, and they're like, Brown, what are we doing? I was like, we're raking up these seaweeds. And to do it, and then they get to see the results of it, is very, very rewarding. So, first of all, does anybody have a question for me? Yes, ma'am.
Do you all go up into Hannah Park, or is that considered?
That's just, we have not gone that the farthest we've gone right now is 19th Street, Atlantic Beach. Now we did, let me back up. Tiffany by the Sea funded a big planting, and that place went crazy. We were lucky we planted 3,000 COs in Tiffany by the Sea, and it rained like all summer. And man, I walked through there, it was like corn stalks. So we've gone that far. Have not gone into Hannah Park, and have not crossed the county line. Back up, we did do 2 projects in Ponte Vedra. The guy wanted them, so we did them. Yes, ma'am?
When I first moved here, I can remember putting Christmas trees.
Yes,
on
ma'am.
the beach. They don't-
Here's the problem with the Christmas trees. It's twofold. One is, that was when those poles you saw that were uncovered, that was the original SOAR project by the Boy Scouts. And we were doing that. Here's what happens. Number 1, sea turtles can't get through the dunes. So it acts as, if you look at the wording, it acts as a conduit. So one of the problems was the sea turtles. Number 2, secondary predators. It became a haven for rats and raccoons and things like that. So it was detrimental. Now, you can still, if you live at the beach, if you live oceanfront, there is nothing wrong, and it is not illegal, to take your Christmas tree and throw it in the trough. You can do that. You just can't line up 50 of them. Okay, so you can do that. That's not a problem. Yes, ma'am.
I'm an ocean fronter. What about the sand fences?
Yeah, the sand fences, here's the problem with the sand fences. Once again, my adorable, lovely sea turtles come into volume here. The fence you saw at Hopkins, we got a permit from DEP to do that. I know the guy at DEP, and I said, man, I want 10 feet. And mainly because at Hopkins, it's amazing to me how we've got this nice walkover and people walk through the sand. And I'm like, so I went to Andy Height at the time and I said, I want to do something. And Rowan did her project there, but we were given permission to do that. You can't go parallel to the beach. You can go vertical.
Right.
Now, we really don't want to do that, but they have done it in down in Matanzas, St. Augustine, other places in the state. Anytime you put that sand fence in, you have to get a DEP permit. And you can do it. You can do it, but you have to be permitted to do it, and they have to be vertical, and they have to be 5 feet apart so that sea turtles can get up through them. But as a sea turtle person, we really don't like them, which I've never really endorsed them, because I think we can do it without the fence. I do. Yes, sir.
Kevin, do the beaches communities have much autonomy as far as concerning how the dunes are maintained? Do they have ordinances that
Okay, a couple things. One, I want everybody to know, our leadership at the beach has been phenomenal on getting renourishment redone. So our leaders should get a round of applause, I'm telling you. They have been great. We took a contingency down to the city council, and so our leaders get it. That's the first thing. Now, as far as maintaining them, the shoreline project goes into effect, in theory, every 5 years. Okay, now, we have been under duress. And so has about 1,000 miles of Florida coastline. So the state of Florida is under duress, especially the East Coast. The one thing we want to stress to y'all is we live on a barrier island. Y'all, we live on a barrier island, and for so long, probably starting in, I don't know, Flagler. He probably did it. We started building on our coastlines and destroying the habitats. So, listen, we all get it now. I can remember starting this and people not giggling, but going, really, Brown, that's going to do something? I'm like, I don't know, we're going to find out. And it did. It did. It held up. Y'all saw the crest held up and the back dune held up. So that's when my phone's blowing up. The kids are like, God, it held. It held. And I went, all right, we're on to something. So when you say, do the cities maintain it? Yes. They apply for this renourishment. And that's all, and that's what they do. Now, what I don't like, okay, is when they included, one year we had 600,000 sea oaks planted, and another year we had 300,000, and another year we had 200,000, and it was part of the project. But what they do is all get, and those guys stand up and throw them in the hole, and they cover them with their feet. And I don't think that does it justice, but the plant's in the ground, and I'm okay with that. So what we have done now since these projects have started is we supplement that. You know, there's no way I can plant 300,000 COs. First, I don't have the money, I don't have the manpower, okay? But we can supplement areas, and that's where those quadrants come in. The other thing I want y'all to realize is, you know, I try to make, apply science to everything. So I always want to apply the science to what's going on. But I'm real proud of where these guys have taken this. It's quite an accomplishment. Yes, ma'am?
Are any of the other plants, like the vines and things, are they detrimental to the
No, ma'am.
soils?
Carly, we planted beach morning glories is what we did there. There's 5 pioneer plants. There's the sea oak, there's a thing called Prasine grass, there's the beach morning glory, the railroad vine, and the sand spur. I would love to do sand spurs. You mentioned, I'm like, can we buy some sand spurs? There is a Supreme Court, me and Bob Parrish looked this up, because the 4th of July after the renourishment from Matthew, my phone's blowing up because everybody's walking over the dunes. Okay, so I'm like, on my bicycle, riding up and down, you know, going, stop, stop, stop. Okay. There is a Supreme Court ruling that says if you have access to continental United States water, you can have that access. So, if you live oceanfront, you can make a path. And we worked with people, the people in 16th, again, my people down at 16th Avenue in Atlantic Beach. I went down and I kind of explained to a couple of them, I said, make you a path and we'll avoid it. And it really, if y'all get a chance, go from 15th to about 17th. And that little community right there has done a great job. They get access to the water. If you were on a lake, you would have access to the water. So when you see people walking across the dunes, it's a difference if you live there and you are going to the beach. What the difference is when you take the tent or the towel and you throw it up on top of the dunes and the kids are jumping off the dunes. That's when I walk up and I explain. We do a little role model where I go, can I have a minute of your time? And if they say yes, then we have a script that we go by. Can I explain the science? And we pull them in. And I will be honest with you, 9 times out of 10, those people go, we're not from here. We didn't know. And they're very apologetic and they do their thing. You know, so, yes, sir.
Just on the question about other plants, I've noticed there's been a really aggressive expansion of kalanchoe, mother of millions, in the beaches. I wonder if there's a conversation about that, whether it's plus, minus, or anything like that.
Yeah, the guys at FWC, it is not invasive. Yeah, it's not choking anything out like the Brazilian pepper, right, or the kudzu. So any type of other plant we get in there, the key to this whole thing is weather. I'm not kidding, for some plants. So the ones you see along, I think most of those are like down the ramps. And they're in that dense part, which we want density. Y'all, the more plants we have, the more sand's trapped. And by the way, Kevin Bodds, I think he tried to bait me into this. It's a good little quick story. Yeah. He calls me up and goes, hey man, we got some really good sea oats down in Jack's Beach. Will you go replant them? Okay, he wants me to move them. He said, we need to see if we can replant them. So my first comment was, where's my permit? You know, I said, you're not baiting me into this. I'm not doing this on a whim. So Trey Hatch gave us a permit. And y'all, I went down and it took us, we did 2 plants. It took us 4 hours. One plant, we had 5 roots, and the shortest root was 18 feet. The longest root was 22 feet. And we had 5 of those. So we were moving sand and trying to do the right thing, and I pulled it up, and we did another one, and it was like 4 hours. And I went, we ain't doing this. Okay? Because they didn't want to cover it up with sand. But I told him later, I said, you know what, I think they'll come back up through there. But the point I'm making is, when you see a real dense dune, listen, this is totally opinionated, but I would bet that dune that you see that is real dense and hits its carrying capacity, the sand is about 60%, and the plant is like those plants take up so much of that dune, which you can see when we do get a good northeaster on a mature dune. You can see the root system hanging down. So the roots take up, that's why we plant. So, oh goodness.
I would like to say that Mother of Millions is an invasive.
It is invasive?
And it should be pulled and replaced with a native like seals or molecular environmental.
Right now, I don't see enough of that because to me, the dunes are raw. I know Jerry Harrison, a botanist guy, pointed those out one time, and I'm like, we're not even back there.
If you go to Hannah Park,
They're all over.
they're all over.
I've been on a couple of cleanups at Hannah Farm.
Judge?
Can you talk a little bit about the job that Judge Ferguson did?
We did a great break down at Judge Ferguson's, and he came out and he was watering and he brought us water. So I mean, it's fun when the community gets involved in that. Appreciate that. Yes, sir.
So, Coach, are there any goals for 2020 as it relates to funds raised or plans? What can somebody do to support the cause?
Yeah, right now, trying to keep this under, I have received enough funds that I can't spend it on, which is unbelievable. We had, and the cool part about that is I think I can give some money at the end of the year for scholarship. That's how much I got. It's crazy. Now, in the beginning, what we used to do is I called it paid it forward. We'd go out and raise about $1,000. I'd buy $1,000 worth of COs. We'd plant them in front of people's homes. Everybody would come out. They go, what can we do? And I'd say, can you just replace the money we spent? People would give us donations. But I can't spend enough money that I got in the bank right now. At Fletcher in the bookkeeper's office. Y'all, I'll tell you, we had a guy pass away at the beach. He thought it was such a great idea for what the kids do that he gave us $20,000. And I am trying to spend it. Okay? I know. But it is Alec, he gave it to us in an attorney note. I went through all that, and it has to be delegated to the dudes, and there's a little bit of education I can give, but I mean, that's humbling that somebody would do that. And he passed away and he told his daughter, this is what I want you to do with this. It was in the will. So I was like, and we've gone with it. So when we do need donations and stuff, we do some things to get it, but right now we're in pretty good shape. Yes, sir? Mr. Forbes?
I just want to point out that we have a lot of other local champions here. If it wasn't for Bill Gulliford, remember after Matthew, our dues were wiped out. And if it wasn't for Bill Gulliford and the City Council of Jackson giving us an extra $7 million for our shore protection project, those dues wouldn't be here today. The second thing I want to say is that another local hero on this has been Jim Hansen, who is then the city manager of Atlantic Beach. He was so concerned, we were all concerned that the shore protection project wasn't going well, that he convinced the city of Jacksonville and the other beach cities to hire Kevin Bodge to be our local consultant on the shore protection project. And Kevin Bodge is another, really, he lives in Atlantic Beach. Without him, we'd be lost. But one thing I really want to make clear today, and everybody remember, I was really concerned in the last meeting that the statement was made that we assure protection in perpetuity. I can assure you that's not true. We've got an authorization for it, which I think expires in about 10 more years. But remember, the federal government doesn't work the same way your local governments do. Number one, your local governments have to balance their budget, okay? But that's really not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about, when the city of Jacksonville Beach or Atlantic Beach or Neptune, which authorizes a project, it comes with money. It doesn't work that way in the federal government. They authorize a project, but there's no money that comes with it. You have to make sure the money gets in the budget. So it wasn't for Jackie and Andrew Crenshaw and all the local government officials helping out down there in Washington and in the state and in the local government with the city of Jacksonville. Remember, the last shore protection money, not including the dunes, cost $10 million just for the beaches. And by the way, you don't pay any of that, those who live here. The share of that comes from the federal government, the state government, and the city of Jackson. The city of Jackson was great at budgeting that money every year. But we still have to make sure the state government budgets that money when it's ready and that the feds do. That's not an easy thing. A lot of us local officials here have been banging on doors in Washington, Jack's Beach for a few years. We hired a consultant in Washington to help us make sure the money was available. And then there's been times we've been banging on the state doors, making sure the state budgets the money. So please don't think that this is in perpetuity. We have to fight for it every time we have it. And if the local officials stop doing that, you're not going to see a shore protection program here. And we'll wind up being just like some other areas just in the south of us.
I want to piggyback. I mentioned it earlier. Our leadership, I don't know all the names, he does, but our leadership has been phenomenal with this. And so I know from the hierarchy, they want our beaches to be good. So I thank you. I really thank you for showing up tonight and giving my kids an audience. They need stuff like this. So, and we thank Beach Watch for providing that time.
Well, it just goes to show that it really does take a community from top to bottom and bottom to top to make sure that we protect our quality of life, and we all take personal responsibility for what that means, and we all participate in that process and support our elected officials, support our government, and support our students from 5th grade on up as he's training, and we're trying to train that next generation of environmental leaders and civic leaders. So thank you again, Kevin. Thank you again, Marine Club, and for everything that you guys have done and continue to do. We do have some time. I would like to ask Councilman Matt Carlucci to come up, and he has a special announcement that he would like to share with the group, since this really is about resiliency. We're talking about resiliency, and we had a program on sea level rise not too long ago, and he would like to share another opportunity on this subject matter. Councilman Carlucci.
Thank you. Hi, how's everybody doing?
Good.
I came here tonight specifically because I knew they'd be talking about sand dunes, and always like hearing Kevin talk, and he's we like borrowing you back up in Jacksonville. But I don't have money to bring you tonight. I'm sorry, but we do have something that's very important that's happening in Jacksonville. We're actually, I think, trailing behind what the beaches have done with resilience. And I know Atlantic Beach has particularly done a lot, and I'm sure the other beaches have too. But we now have a special committee on resiliency in Jacksonville, and it will begin January 27th. And I bought a bunch of these right here to pass out, and I'll leave them in the back. I'll give one to Maria so she can have it, but there's a charge of what the committee is supposed to do. And I want you to see these words right here. These letters, draft. Okay, this is a draft of what our committee will do, and it'll meet once a month. And I'll be chairing the committee, but there'll be 6 other council members on there, including the beaches. Roy Diamond will be on there. He needs to be there because resiliency affects obviously the coast in a big way, but it also storm surge heads up the St. Johns River. And as a State Farm insurance agent, like my friend in the back there, Floyd, we know the after effects of the lack of having a resilient city. I don't claim to be an expert on resiliency, Kevin. I'm learning. And I'm trying to learn from people like you and Kevin Bodge. He taught me a lot. But I know what happens afterwards, because when most people are hunkered down in their house, you know, State Farm agents and other insurance agents, just like Floyd Sewell in the back, my good friend, who's now retired from State Farm, but we're out, you know, climbing over the telephone poles, the trees, through the trees, getting to our customers, writing them, you know, checks so they can button their house up, go live somewhere until their house is livable again. We see the flooding, and the flooding and the sea level rise combined with that is nothing like I've ever seen before with Matthew and Irma. It's just incredible. The pace that this is moving at is faster than I ever thought. And so people that are sometimes, wonder how, they don't like to blame man for sea level rise. And I tell them, well, go look in the book of Revelation and check it out. See what it says about the weather in the last days. So, but it's getting hotter. And the sea level is rising. And for whatever reason, it's happening. Natural causes is happening. So Jackson's going to be taking a very hard look at that. And this right here, for those of you who would like to come, you may want to come. But I just thought with what Kevin and Maria had planned for tonight, I tried to get here earlier so I could just give it to her and she could dish it out. But I'd like to invite everybody here to be a part of that or to come. I don't have as many copies of this as there are people here, but this is such a great community association to come to because you represent everybody out at the beach. And as an at-large council member, I was reminded several times in the campaign not to be an absentee at-large council member. So I thank you for your time. I'm going to put these in the back. They start January 27th. They'll be at City Hall in the Linwood Roberts room, which is kind of a big room off the rotunda. And I think you'll find it very educational. And by the end of 6 months, we're going to have a legislative package, and we're going to do something. And the mayor and his administration, in spite of what you don't read much about it, because when the JA's meeting, we're not going to talk about that, but the JA is sucking all the oxygen out of the room. But in the meanwhile, there has been some good things happening towards the issue of resiliency, and now we're moving forward to try to implement and educate our citizens. We'd love to have y'all come. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we can post that on our website as well, so we can inform those who are not here. But I encourage you to take a handout with you before you leave. Again, it's about participation. It's about making your voice heard. It's about taking on that responsibility and being in the game. So, are there any other announcements? Okay, that being said, when you sat down in your chair, you had this little slip of paper. This is something we've begun to do. We will take this personal survey so we get feedback from the participants here. Because we want to make sure that our programs are relevant, they're informative, and they're valued. So if you can just take a second, fill it out, it takes 2 seconds. There's a box in the back of the room that you can just put the piece of paper in. Yes?
On the 19th of January at 16th Street South, Sir Reiner is hosting a Bring Your Own Mug beach cleanup, and I put a flyer at the front of the library. Everybody's welcome to come.
Okay. So Sir Reiner is hosting a cleanup.
Beach cleanup, 16th South Jacks Beach.
Okay.
January 19th.
January 19th. So, and so in closing, I want to thank you for coming. Don't forget about our meeting in February, which is the State of the Beaches with all 3 mayors. And for those who are able, please pick up your chair and help us stack them to the side. Thank you.